I'm your host, Brittany Rue. Today's going to be a quick stream. We're going to talk about a story brought to us by Reduxx. I think this one was by Genevieve Gluck. And it is a story of, I guess, sort of like one of those pedophile hunters. I already know the video is going to be demonetized, so I'm just going to use the word. A pedophile hunter. And on a quick tangent, speaking of the fact that the story is probably going to be demonetized simply for using the term pedophile, we slowly are moving towards getting rid of pedophile as a socially unacceptable term and as in a politically incorrect term, and I feel we need to fight against that. The fact that being a pedophile comes with a stigma isn't the word itself. It's the fact that we as a culture have decided that engaging in sex with children as an adult is unacceptable. And for those males who do this and those males who have some sort of orientation towards an attraction to children for whatever reason, it's socially unacceptable because of the pain, because of the trauma, because of the deep harm that does to society. And when we move towards these neutralizing terms, these destigmatizing terms like MAP, minor attracted person, and we try to move away from terms like pedophile that have a stigma to it, again, it comes down to reordering what our values are as a society. There should be a stigma attached to that. That's saying that we as a society are not okay with engaging in children. And when we can't call things what they are, it disarms us from being able to call them out, from being able to pursue these things, from being able to keep a special life. We know someone's a pedophile, and I understand that the whole MAP concept is that, pedophiles are men, almost exclusively men, with an attraction to minor children, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're offenders, or not necessarily mean that they're child molesters or that they're child rapists or anything. They're just simply men who have an attraction to children. And that, when we move away from stigmatizing and move towards more destigmatizing language, we're not allowed to point out, hey, there's something strange. Just so you know, this person is at a extremely increased risk of offending, and they'll always be at an extremely increased risk of offending. And it sort of disarms our ability to keep an eye on that person, to spread awareness about that person. And again, and it's all, we've shifted so much away from true victims to making the perpetrator, the person who has been on the receiving end of ire because of the cultural anger, as they're the victims. And again, it's about normalizing the abnormal so that the normal seems abnormal. And this is particularly this story that we're about to look at shows a really interesting crossroads of why it's important that we are able to use the correct language when we're talking about males and trans-identified males, that we're not forced to call them by our own name, of women, that we're not forced to call them girls, that we're not forced to call them she, her, and that we are allowed to defend, protect, and maintain sex-segregated spaces. Let's get into the video first, and then we'll talk more about what the significance of this. Again, this is going to be a short stream today. Hey everybody. Hey GGC. Hey Abel. Hey dear. I feel like I haven't seen you in a while. All right. Oh, it's hot in here. I don't know why I have this box around. It's annoying. All right, let's take a look at this. Okay, so again, this is brought to us by Reduxx. Predator hunters caught a trans-identified pedophile red-handed with intent to molest 3 children, including a baby. Berkeley police allowed the suspect to walk away from the sting and have yet to press any charges. Additionally, according to Reduxx, the police scolded the predator hunter for using the wrong pronouns, just to let you know how captured we are. And again, this is Berkeley, this is California. California is paving the way to hell with all of these with gender ideology and institutionalizing gender ideology. So let's take a look at this. Alright, sorry, my internet's probably gonna be slow. And notice when we watch this, notice the reactions of like the other bystanders. And it's just, again, it's gonna show how dramatically, gender ideology has not only captured the public, but how it's impacted our response, our cultural response to things. And how, again, we've normalized the abnormal, and how a normal response, sort of like how when people were freaking out about Julie Jamin's response to the male in the girls' locker room looking at children, that she was the bad guy, as if her response was so over the top, and she was angry, she was upset. And there was a time where that would be obvious, where anybody who didn't get angry would be looked at as, what do you condone this? Do you think this is normal? Where it was just a given that anyone would get upset. Come on. Please work. All right. While that loads, damn. While that loads, we'll take a look at this. We'll take a look at the, damn, I want to show the video first. Anyway, all right, so let's take a look at this first. And again, it's interesting, when we watch the video, you'll notice the bystanders are, rather than giving, not giving this pedo like the benefit of the doubt, and giving the guy the benefit of the doubt, because it's a trans identified male, and they immediately see that, they can't hear or understand what's going on. But they think, again, we've been so trained and conditioned to believe that anyone who confronts a trans-identified male must be harassing them. That there is this epidemic, a cultural epidemic of especially cis white men and cis men harassing trans-identified males, wanting to brutalize them, attacking them. So everybody's like, oh, what are you doing to this woman? Oh my goodness. And even once he declares and shows proof that this trans-identified male had been having sexual conversations with young children, and I'm not just talking about teenagers, I'm talking about little kids. He even talked about engaging in sexual activity with a child as young as 1 year old. And they sort of just back off. They didn't say anything. They weren't even helping the guy confront this person, or helping him make sure that he doesn't leave the area until police get there. It's like this guy had to prove that he wasn't, causing any harm to this person. He was just, you could tell, trying to keep him in the area until police got there. He didn't put his hands on him. He wasn't using foul language. But so much of why it's so important that we use correct pronouns, that we have sex segregated spaces, is for this reason, so that we can point out when something is amiss. When somebody like Julie Jamin, it doesn't even have to think twice or worry about anything, and can say, hey, you're a man, you don't belong in this space. Now she's got to bend over backwards proving why it's inappropriate. Oh, what are you saying? He's a child molester? No, but the fact of the matter, any man who wants to be in that space there's something wrong. We've made it now where we've so normalized sort of bizarre behavior that we can't use that as a red flag. And I've talked about this in the past. Discrimination and prejudice is very important. Why? It is so, as human beings, and we are very well evolved, we make split-second judgments about people, about whether they are safe or not safe when we see them. We don't have time to sit there and be like, well, let me get to know him. He might really be a good guy. No, you have to be able to determine quickly whether or not somebody is a danger to you, whether or not anybody in the surrounding area is a danger. We are very good at scanning people and seeing if something is amiss. And yes, unfortunately, some people who are a little bit more eccentric, some people who are otherwise harmless or good people might have strange characteristics about them that are off-putting to other people, and people might, routinely clock that person as a threat when they really aren't, and that is a shame. But the fact of the matter is, we still should not be trying to train people out of that instinct. That instinct keeps us alive and it protects children. How? Why? We've gotten to a point in society where we are more concerned about the feelings of adult men who have some sort of paraphilia, who have some sort of sexual or identity condition, than we are about the safety and the well-being of children and women. I don't know how we've got here, but this is where we are. Okay, let's see if this loaded yet. Come on, load. Damn. Let me turn. All right, cool. We're back. I got it working.
All we want to do is have cameras are for your safety, okay? I got your messages here that I need to talk to you about, okay? Yeah, I do. All we want to do is have a conversation, okay?
Okay, so it says, let's see. Predator hunters in Berkeley, California, and of course that's like a super, super woke area, confronted a trans-identified male who they say was trying to arrange to sexually assault 3 children, including an infant, a 1-year-old. Okay, and so this person is confronting the person, has notified police, and is waiting for police to come, and is basically trying to keep the person from leaving the area until police can get there. Again, this is from Reduxx. The adult had spoken to a decoy presenting as a 9-year-old girl and expressed interest in her 1-year-old
Look, I
sister.
think we both understand the implication of these messages, okay? All I want to do is just have a talk. This is to a 9, a 6, and a 1-year-old. She's here to meet a 9, a 6, and a 1-year-old for sex. She sent child to the little kids. You go ahead and do it.
Please leave me alone. Stop.
I'd rather just talk about this in private.
Do you see that? They're like, what are you doing? Again, and part of it is like, they're not stupid. They're really good at anticipating issues, right? They're really good at anticipating. They know that the type of people who have a really good antenna for these things, men. I've talked to, my boyfriend, and I've talked to people in his family, and they say, we know men. We know how men are. The reason why we don't buy into a lot of this gender stuff, and the reason why we haven't, a lot of men who are accused of, like the toxic masculinity stuff, they're like, because we know how men are. We're not stupid. We can always tell when a man is using little tricky maneuvers, things that he can do to sort of get around people's, internal alarm. We know how men are. We know how skeezy they are. We know how slimy they can be. So what's one way of totally, again, shutting them down is, these are transphobes, these are white supremacists, these are, toxic masculinity, these men who, they hate, men who are different than them. They're homophobic probably. And it's a way to totally discredit when they, again, and a lot of these men are fathers, they're grandfathers, they're just men in the community who, again, men can recognize their own very quickly. It's the same way that people within your own group, and this is true even like racially, and it shouldn't be controversial, but like a Caucasian, a white person can distinguish differences between other white people more easily than an Asian person can probably distinguish differences in features between different white people, and vice versa. Same with black people. Same with, indigenous people. People who have a distinct sort of phenotype that's developed for a long, long time. People within their own ethnic racial group can identify differences and distinct markers and unique attributes within their own racial group more quickly than they can in a different group. I believe the same thing is true with men. Men can recognize when there's something off, there's something predatory, and there's something wrong with other men. They've developed this for a long time. It's been very successful. These internal instincts that we have. We would not have survived to where we are now, and as complex as a species as to where we are now, if we didn't have internal instincts that have been pretty darn successful. And the fact that now we're going out of our way to sort of rewire that, reconfigure that, be very careful. That's very dangerous. We don't even fully understand and can fully appreciate why we have certain instincts that we do. There is this idea that everything that people think is somehow culturally influenced, that the media has, a full monopoly on how we think, that, anything that you think is weird about somebody, that's because, TV told you to think like that. That's because, you watch too much MTV. You've been, your culture, society, you need to deprogram. Maybe not though. Maybe not. Maybe some of these things that we've developed since, time immemorial for millennia serve a purpose that you just don't understand, or you do understand and you want to find a way around it if you're, sinister like that. So this woman, again, any other time you see a man, they've purposely they pathologize the normal and depathologize the pathological, so that when you see a man who's exhibiting a bunch of really bizarre attributes and red flags that would normally point to a paraphilia, a man who needs to out and about wear women's clothing, who has made no attempt to actually even look like a woman, which that's a different thing, who is, again, wearing things like, as a kid, I remember seeing some men, just taking one look at them, and they would be wearing, I remember I saw a man wearing makeup or heels, and you can tell that there is some sexual undertone to it, that there is some pathology there. And I immediately was like, I'm going to stay away from that person. We are now trying to indoctrinate children from a very young age that if you feel that sense of alarm, that there's something wrong with you, that you're a bigot, that and then they trying to, that's what the whole point of this story time with drag queens is. It's to normalize and make children comfortable with the most extreme manifestation, the most extreme version of this, the most clowny version of this. So when they see a more moderate version, just the regular guy down the street who's wearing pantyhose or a skirt, the kid's like, oh, well, that's nothing. That's normal. We saw that in school. We saw big drag queens and that made us comfortable. So this is nothing. It's to try to knock you off your guard and disarm you. Watch what this woman does. This woman would have not had this reaction 20 years ago. She would have said, you know what? I see a regular looking man who could have been someone's dad confronting a really bizarre, skeezy looking guy in women's clothing who's, trying to scurry away. Yeah, there's something going on there. Let me mind my business, or let me hang back and watch what's going on, because there's clearly something happening.
And a 6 and a 1-year-old. She sent child to the little kids.
Oh, yeah, hold on.
This is to a 9, a 6, and a 1-year-old.
What are you doing?
She's here to meet a 9, a 6, and a 1-year-old. She sent child to the little kids. You go ahead and do it.
So,
Leave me alone. Stop.
even after he tells this woman, this Berkeley, California woman, why he's confronting this person, she threatens to call the police on him. Again, the groups of people that this ideology has been taught us to, oh, they're the main aggressors. It's other men, and then mothers and TERFs, feminists, women trying to stand. They've demonized feminists. They've demonized women speaking up for themselves, and they're demonizing men. Men are the best equipped people on this planet to identify weird behaviors in other men and to confront it. They are the best equipped. They've demonized these kinds of men specifically so that they come off as an aggressor. Because again, and that's why pronouns matter. Like, like in Vanessa Voki's song and like in the essay, pronouns are rohypnol. The point is to desensitize you. This looks like, oh, it's this big burly man who's confronting a woman. Why is he getting in that woman's face? Yes, because if it truly were a woman, then yeah, that would be an inappropriate encounter. It would be inappropriate that this man is charging at this woman. Oh, and they have to play this sort of like, oh, frail, vulnerable. They're playing it. Look at his bone structure. Look at his hands. Again, you don't have to be real jacked up to have a male strength in you. That boost of testosterone gives you a certain level of strength. But when this gets reported to the police, you know what she's going to say when she calls the police? Again, this is why pronouns are rohypnol. This is why correct pronouns matter. She's going to say, hi, I'm at the park with my children right now, and we're just playing on the playground, and I saw this big, burly man, white, in his 30s. Yes, officer, very, big, jacked up, and he is going after. There's a woman in the park who just is minding her own business. Yes, officer, she's just wearing a skirt, a pink top, and he is coming at her. And I asked him what's going on, and he will not leave this woman alone. Please send help immediately. Does that really describe what's going on here? Is that accurate? Is that really accurate? And they say pronouns aren't that big of a deal. Oh, just do the polite thing. Just do the right thing. The right thing is to describe reality as it is, to give accurate information, to not lie.
I'd rather just talk about this in private. Well, look, when stuff is said the 1-year-old can learn how to get touched, the 1-year-old can do things that needs to be addressed. And we also have you sending child to little kids. I mean,
disgusting.
Well, if
These guys come up with cameras and start harassing you, okay?
that's not what happened.
Okay.
So basically,
Do you know them?
No.
Okay, so why are you...
well, I do know who she is. So this individual here was attempting to meet a 9, a 6.
Thank you. Judy C. right there. I can't pin it. If anyone's in here, TPS, are you still in here? Oh, well, Judy, you're a mod. Judy, pin your comment. Judy C. Pin the comment, the 510, the Berkeley police. Pin it. Because if people want to, we really do. We need to complain. We need to send, again, doesn't need to be harassing. Don't use foul language. Call, be firm, be stern, and say, I saw some really concerning footage that involved Berkeley police. And I want to understand what their policy is regarding, handling child predators. I'm sorry, do trans women get a special pass? Because these are still men. And again, when you're talking about, it's a woman who was contacting, it doesn't have the same sting to it. The fact of the matter is, men are more prone to paraphilias. Women are sexually receptive and men are sexually pursuing. That's just how we are as a species. Our bodies are built that way, and our sexual behavior is built that way. You know, and not to say that women don't groom children and don't sexually assault children. They absolutely do, but it takes on different patterns. When we can't label and identify themselves exactly as they are and properly, then again, we can't make accurate judgments and decisions. And sometimes you only have a split second to make a decision or a judgment that could save your life, that could save your bodily integrity, that could protect you. But when you are training yourselves out of it, when you're training your children out of it, these long, well-established internal alarm, well-established internal compass for categorizing people, for parsing information about people, we are putting people at risk, putting yourself at risk. This is wrong. And then I read somewhere else that they had like checked the pedo guy, the predator hunter, for misgendering him. Let's see, it says, and again, this is Berkeley, California, super woke. The predator hunter attempts to tell police about what the suspect had sent to the decoy and shows multiple officers evidence, including child sexual abuse materials that have been shared. Here's another thing that was really worries me about what we did with, listen, I'm a huge advocate of prison reform. And not just because, you know, what my boyfriend has been through and his life and things like that, but because I really have seen firsthand how dysfunctional and how unjust our system is. With that being said, our police are important, and our criminal justice system is important. Okay, and what concerns me about the way that they tried to tackle criminal justice reform, we need to be careful about how much we try to change the upfront. When police arrest somebody, you're just arresting them. It's then the court who has to process the charges, decide if they're going to continue to press charges, pursue and seek a conviction. Okay? You get through the arrest, and then that's not the time to sit there and fight your charges. That's why you get to go to court. Okay? That's what needs to be amended. But again, just like people have a split second to make a good decision about things, police also have split seconds to make decisions about how they're going to proceed and what could possibly be a multivariable situation that could become dangerous. And when we sit there and we have all these trainings about inclusivity and pride and gender identity and all this sort of stuff, we're doing a disservice. We're potentially harming children and keeping police from being able to properly do their job. Hold on, someone just came in here. Let me see who it is. My son just came in. I was like, I'm gonna finish up this. My son just came in. I was like, I'm gonna finish up this stream really quick. He's like, did you pause it? And I was like, yeah. I like that they like know the deal. All right, let me finish this up. All right, so let's really quick go through the story itself. Dun, 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 dun. Pronouns matter. Oh, also, Vanessa. Isn't Vanessa in here? Is Vanessa Vilke still in here? I have I have a playlist for my girls of songs that we listen in the car, and I have your pronouns song on that playlist. And I was going through it, and I noticed that it's not on Apple anymore. Did they take it down? If you're in here, let me know. I was like really sad to see that. And if they did, I like definitely need a copy of that song. I'll buy it from you. But I love that song. Okay. Oh good, you're here. What happened to your song? I have your song in my playlist, and I just saw it's been like grayed out, which means that the song's no longer on iTunes. I want it. All right, anyways, trans pedophile still free after attempting to meet child baby for sexual abuse. You got an email about it? They took it down? I'm so sorry. Somebody definitely had to have like made a point to go and complain or something. If you can, I mean, try, I know it feels futile, but if you can try try to appeal it. That sucks. I'm so sorry. I'm really sorry for everything that's been taken from you through all of this. You've done so much good work, and I'm just really, really sorry. All right, trans pedophile still free after attempting to meet child, baby for sexual abuse. Berkeley police allowed a suspected pedophile to walk away from a sting conducted by predator hunters despite being shown evidence that he had been expressing interest in molesting multiple children. Oh, let me turn. Yeah. Despite being shown evidence that he had been expressing interest in molesting multiple children, including an infant. It's not so, listen, and a lot of these times, these sort of like vigilante, like, you know, predator hunters and stuff, police can't always make a move because of the nature of how you were allowed to do an arrest. So it might have been one thing that they were like, listen, unfortunately, this is hearsay, and we actually, you know, we'll keep an eye on him, we'll get his information, but right now we don't have enough to make a arrest, because technically what they have is hearsay. Oh, you can arrest off of that, but again, sometimes the police can't just jump in, because again, there's a lot of these like vigilante types and predator hunter types and stuff, and they need to get more information. That would have been one thing, but it was just how they handled the whole situation. And again, they're all looking at the guy like he's the problem, as if, you know, what are you doing? You know, why are you attacking this lady? On August 20th, anti-pedophile vigilante group Predator Poachers uploaded footage of a sting they conducted in Berkeley, California to a YouTube involving trans-identified male who had been purportedly seeking to meet a 9-year-old for the purposes of sexually abusing her. Again, this is on Reduxx. The girl was in fact a decoy established by the group as a part of a months-long investigation into the man who went by the name Sophia Westfall. So this is the man right here. He's on Twitter at Sophia not Lauren at Twitter. So if anybody wants to check out if that's still there, I would. I gotta get going. I gotta take my girls to jiu-jitsu, which, by the way, anybody who has children, my girls have been doing jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, since they were like 1 and 2 years old. And they've now been doing it for multiple years. And I don't always get a chance. I carpool a lot. And so, I don't always get a chance to sit and like watch them do it. I was watching them the other day. They're amazing. I watched my preschooler take her teacher, who was this like huge man, and she did a throw with him. She did this thing with like, and it was just so fluid. She did this thing where she like grabbed him by his thing, grabbed him up here by his arm, like put her leg up like this, and did this like flip throw. And I was like, oh my God, I'm like so proud. And my sons do it too. And my sons are already really good. And I just want them to have that as like muscle memory, where they could just pull it out, where like they just just so that they have that sense of confidence, like they just know how to like move and what to do in any kind of a sticky situation. And I'm just like, I like wanted to cry. I was like, oh my God, they're so good. It's like something that I wish I had learned. And I'm really grateful, and I'm really grateful for their teachers who are really, thoughtful to teach them not just moves and things, but they talk to them about like different situational awareness, and not in a way that's scary, and just in a way that's like, listen, be aware these things happen, you're safe for the most part, your parents are, whatever. But, if something were to ever happen, these are the things to look out for that are, weird behaviors that you should see as like a red flag, and here's how you respond. And if anyone ever tried to grab you, here's what you do. I remember they chopped the hell out of my arm. I was like going through these like situations with them. I was like, all right, if I like try to take you, and like mommy's like, checking out, she's paying, and maybe she's not looking for a minute, and you're standing there and someone is at the mall and like tries to take you, what do? And they're like, we chop, and they like chopped my arm, like, yeah, and then like kicked me, and then like, oh my God, and they're supposed to like scream really loud and yell and say like, no, you're not my mom, like, don't touch me, like, help, and like chop. Oh my God. And it like really hurt. But they do this special chop where they chop you at this point in your arm that like forces your hand to like release. They learned like where to The girl was in fact a decoy established by the group as part of a months-long investigation into the man who went by Sophia Westfall. Speaking of Reduxx, predator hunter Alex Rosen says Westfall first contacted the decoy's Instagram account April. Oh, so he contacted the decoy first. So it's not like they're just going out and seeking people. So he's like actively, and soon after began initiating sexual conversations with the child. Rosen is a full-time anti-pedophile vigilante, and he and a small team have traveled across the United States conducting stings on predators since 2019. Ample evidence is gathered prior to a confrontation, then the police are then called. So maybe they did have enough evidence for an arrest. Again, it's Berkeley though, so it's like, everybody's super woke where the police feel like their hands are tied. And I'm sure that the way that the phone call came in, it's like she wasn't calling the police on the two of them or the situation. She wasn't calling the police on the pedophile. She was calling the police on the predator hunter. Make no mistake, that's who they were there to question. Rosen told Reduxx that the sting uploaded on the 20th had actually been conducted on June 7th, when him and his team were in California. Quote, Sophia was one of the reasons we were in California, but we actually had multiple suspects in the state, he explained. Of course, because in places like California and Oregon and New York, certain parts of New York are havens. They're safe havens. They know that they're safe havens for this sort of behavior. Let's see. And noting that Sophia had been picked up by 2 different decoys on 2 different platforms, Instagram and Telegram. Oh, so she was just like going for anybody. Rosen says both decoy accounts have been populated using altered and AI generated photos. Good for them. So they're not like using real kids' photos. Rosen provided Reduxx a number of screenshots belonging to the conversations Westfall had with the decoy. Westfall tells the girl that he masturbates to thoughts about her and suggests a number of ways that he wants to molest her. Quote, I'm thinking of other things too, but maybe tickles too, Westfall wrote in one message. Kisses and touches all over. Kisses between your legs especially. Oh my God. It's like super AGP. Oh my God. And again, to think that, listen, paraphilias, which are like sexual obsessions and like deviations, are not just neatly compartmentalized. Oh, well, he's just an AGP, or oh, he's just a pedophile. You've got to understand, if you have some sort of a paraphilia, chances are it clusters with other kinds of paraphilias. It's not just going to exist in like this one little neat compartment. And again, as these men become, these sexual addicts, it's going to take on a lot of different forms and shapes. Disturbingly, Westfall suggested that he wanted to sexually abuse a girl's 6-year-old sister, saying, well, I love young girls. I'm just excited thinking about how fun it could be to play in bed with both of you. The decoy then advised Westfall that she also had a 1-year-old sibling, stating, quote, she's probably too young for sexual activity, to which Westfall replied, quote, that doesn't bother me. Never too young to start learning. Wow. I hope whatever woman called the police gets a hold of the story. I really hope she does, and I really hope she feels like a scumbag. I really, really, really hope she does. But that's the scary part. Some of these people are so captured that it doesn't even register. While Westfall would ultimately establish to meet up with a decoy purporting to be 9 years old, he also communicated with separate one of Rosen's decoys and encrypted chat service Telegram. The decoy was also intended to be a 9-year-old girl. He sent some very illegal stuff to our decoy on Telegram, Rosen says, noting that it included extreme child sexual abuse material appearing to show very young children being sexually assaulted. Westfall also gave suggestions that 9-year-old decoy on how to pleasure male genitals. All right, I'm going to finish this stream. I'm just going to pause the stream, and I'm going to come back when I get back tonight and finish it because I want to finish reading everything, but it's awful. I'll be back.